Good morning. Today on Spotlight, we'll focus on one of the hottest commercial and residential districts in Southeast Michigan. Some are calling the 45 blocks that make up this area as the new Detroit, but it's better known as Midtown Detroit, which runs along the east and west side of Woodward Avenue and just north of downtown. What is its legacy and its future? We'll ask Melanie Markowicz, the new executive director of Midtown Detroit, for her first in-depth interview since stepping into this leadership position. It's Sunday, May the 4th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. You're not new to Detroit. You've had other positions. We'll talk about some of those positions and what they may have done to get you ready for this latest position. But now you're executive director of Midtown Inc., only about a month into that position. How does it feel, and what do you want to do in that position? Why did you want this particular position?
Well, first, I'm very honored to be leading Midtown Detroit Inc., and I really was so interested and so thrilled about this position and continue to be, because Midtown Detroit is not just one neighborhood, it's a bunch of neighborhoods. Through Midtown and New Center, there's neighborhoods within neighborhoods. So it's a lot of community, it's a lot of identity and culture. And for me, I was so excited about taking on this role so that we could really underscore the culture and safeguard that culture there, while also really improving and leaning into public space connectivity with other neighborhoods and within the neighborhood itself.
What do you see as the next big step for Midtown? Because certainly downtown has gotten a lot of attention, a lot of development, a lot has been going on. Greektown, they're making some real changes there. We'll talk about that in a little bit because you had a hand in all of that. And Midtown has certainly had a renaissance and a revitalization, maybe not to the tune of downtown yet. So what do you think is coming?
Well, Midtown has really driven a lot of the positive population growth and development growth, certainly over the last 10 years and 20 years. My predecessor, Sue Mosey, led this organization for a very long time, and she made great strides.
They used to call her the mayor of Midtown.
They did, they still do.
They still do, okay. You won't get that title, right?
No, not at all, but Sue and I are working together to make sure, I'm up to speed and all that, so it's really great. But I'm really excited about this next chapter for the organization and for the community, because we're going to be really leaning into public space development. So we have a lot of positive development that's occurred over the last 20 years, real estate, tenanting. Midtown Detroit took a leading role in that growth, serving as a developer, co-developer, property owner. And now we're kind of pivoting the organization since real estate is really, kind of taking off in a larger way, not only downtown, but also Midtown, Corktown, other areas. So with the organization, we're really going to be leaning into public space. And so what I mean about that is parks, streetscape improvements, bicycling, really making sure that blocks are legible and connected to each other, that things are programmed, that we're telling our story of culture, history, programming, and really highlighting what makes Detroit and Detroiters so amazing.
And are you hearing, and I know your background is in urban planning and public space and all of that, as well as historic preservation, based upon what you've seen happen already in Detroit, but also what has worked in other big cities that are vibrant cities, is public space what everybody wants and needs now? Is that what people are asking for? Campus Martius certainly has gotten, award after award, USA Today, 3 years in a row. The Riverfront, same thing. Those are places that people flock to, and it's about quality of life, not just the buildings.
Yes. So public space and the emphasis on public space lately is critical in my eyes, because people are looking for places that are not only walkable, but places where they can discover things that are meaningful. And that means things that are connected, beautiful, clean, safe. And throughout Midtown's many neighborhoods, spanning all the way from Virginia Park, New Center, all the way down to Brush Park and the Cass Corridor, We are trying to create and encourage an environment that people find beautiful, they want to explore, they want to be in. People are looking for an experience. And a lot of that experience is not only the buildings and the many small businesses and restaurants and pubs and cultural institutions and universities, but it's all the spaces in between that connect them so that you can have an experience of a day, an hour, or experience it as a restaurant or a small business owner.
And you're talking, I think, 8 neighborhoods?
Yes, and there's kind of neighborhoods.
Make up Midtown.
Yes, so we've got Brush Park, South Cass Corridor or Lower Cass Corridor, North Cass Corridor or just Cass Corridor. We have Medical Center, Wayne State, Tech Town, which is part of that area. Then you have a Cultural Center, Art Center, Milwaukee Junction, New Center, and Virginia Park.
You did good. You get an A on remembering all that. How do you strike that balance between the businesses, i.e. Henry Ford, which is expanding big time in that area, cultural institutions like the Motown Museum, and the neighborhoods, the people who live there, put their heads down on a pillow there at night and want things that may be a little different than what the companies or the organizations want. We'll be right back and we'll get our answer right after this. All right, so I teased the question about that balance between big business, major corporations, foundations, cultural centers, and then the people who just live there.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be, a symbiotic relationship there. Community engagement is so important, and I don't just mean ticking off a box. Unfortunately, far too many times, that is what is occurring. I deeply believe in authentic community engagement, where you're meeting people where they are, where they're already meeting, where they're already going, and engaging with them rather than inviting them to a special thing. You need a mix of both. And when it comes to the larger institutions, comparatively to residents and small businesses, they all need to work together. So when we're talking about the new Henry Ford expansion, Future of Health, it's so exciting. $3 billion investment into this expansion of Henry Ford Hospital along with residential. And it's not just their property, but they're really making an investment in the neighborhoods to try to rehabilitate houses, provide mobility for jobs. And so Midtown's goal, as they're a major anchor in our district, Midtown's goal is to help facilitate those conversations, to make sure that it fits in with the neighborhood, that the neighborhood is involved in authoring their own community, really taking part in activating some of those corridors through Tech Town and New Center in different ways that invite walkability, activation, programming, greening, and making sure that the residents are involved in authoring what that looks like.
If you ran into a young person just moved to this area, or maybe an older couple who's already raised their family out in the suburbs and they're tired of the big house and the suburban life and they want to be close to the central city for all the different attractions, would you be saying to them right now, forget about downtown, Midtown is where you really want to be?
Well, Midtown is different than downtown. Downtown has wonderful qualities, and I love downtown. But Midtown is different than downtown. It really depends on what you're looking for. In the Midtown communities, you can, feel a different type of community than downtown. Let me give you a good example. Recently, we held a celebration for Earth Day in the North Cass Community Garden. This is a community allotment-style community garden where Detroiters, community members have plots where they grow food and flowers. And this is a space that Midtown Detroit owns and operates. And it is open to the public, and we really want to use this as a community space. So we threw a celebration for Earth Day, invited all of our gardeners, the wider public in the community. We had a DJ, snacks and food. We had free gardening tutorials. And it was just a community celebration to be out, and it was a beautiful day too. I definitely ordered that beautiful day. But it was so wonderful to see because...
and I was going to credit our weather department.
Yeah, yes, I'll credit the weather department.
Okay.
But it was so wonderful to see because you had people of every single age, every single color. And it was a true true just representation of the Detroit community, where you had all kinds of different people in one space celebrating community, meeting each other, learning about the garden, learning about what Midtown does on a daily basis, and just frankly enjoying each other. And we had a party. We operate and maintain many public parks and gardens throughout our geography, as well as maintain streetscapes, picking up trash and litter, landscaping, flowers. So we take on a lot of the public space work already. And so it's certainly my goal with the organization to lean into that and reinvest in those public spaces and invite the community to determine what that looks like.
Ms. Markowicz, you've had a chance to travel and study other places, other cities. Is there somewhere else in America, in another city, that you say that's a great community, and if I could make Midtown sort of like that, that's where I would like to see it 10, 15 years from now?
That's a really good question. I'll start off by saying Detroit is going to be Detroit, and uniquely Detroit always.
Okay.
Number one.
Right.
And with all these different neighborhoods, each of them have their own different feeling and flair. Like the cultural center is much different than New Center, for example. So they're going to be different types of things because they're so unique unto themselves. But I've seen great examples across the world. There's some great spots in Montreal that have cultural centers within neighborhoods that are walkable, that have really interesting art interpretation, literally as you're walking down the street. I've seen great representations, in Europe, also across the U.S. But
all
it really,
the piazzas.
yeah, absolutely, and really having that walkability and that community feeling is what our organization strives for.
All right, we'll come back and I want to talk about some of your background.
Okay.
How that prepared you for what you're doing now. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Ms. Markowicz, you have degrees from the Savannah College of Art, also from Michigan State University. You were former economic director for Wayne County. You sit on the City of Detroit Planning Board. So you've got all these different antennas. How have these previous jobs, and we shouldn't leave out Greektown. We'll talk about Greektown because you were over the Greektown Neighborhood Partnership. How have these past experiences prepared you for this?
I love the breadth of experiences that I've had through the course of my career, all the way from special projects at Wayne County, working on trail systems and economic development, rehabilitation of historic resources, to working in Greektown, where I really focused on development of public parks and streetscape improvements, which I'm sure we're going to get into in a minute.
Yeah.
And then also a lot of work, I was city planner for Hamtramck, where
That's
I
right.
spearheaded the rehabilitation of historic Hamtramck Stadium, which was one of the last remaining Negro League era baseball stadiums in the country.
Right.
And it brought so much attention to that project that today, thanks to so many different people to thank, it's open and operating and functional, and it's a beautiful place that everyone can enjoy.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Greektown, because the construction is going on there now,
Yeah.
and by 2026, it's going to look a lot different than what
Very.
it looks like now.
Yeah.
When you were involved in that, what was the overall goal, and is it working to your satisfaction now? I would assume so, that you say, okay, check that box, let me move on to Midtown now.
It was really a joy to work downtown and work on, the development and revitalization of the eastern portion of downtown in Greektown. As part of that role for leading the organization for the last almost 6 years, I planned, designed, and funded the major streetscape improvement program that is currently under construction today.
And it's going to go down to a single lane, a lot more walkability. So the
Yes.
idea is come to Greektown, park your car, and start walking.
Yeah, think of, it'll be all one level, beautiful granite streetscape, one vehicular lane, but on the weekends it'll be closed to vehicles and it'll just be completely pedestrianized. So we're going to have wide sidewalks, cafes, trees lining the whole thing, art interpretation, heritage interpretation, So we have a whole plan, and I'm so excited that we finally got to this point to break ground in tandem with a variety of other projects in the eastern portion of downtown. Greektown is also in process of constructing and rehabilitating a pocket park, if you will, in Randolph Plaza. Randolph Street itself, the city of Detroit is rehabilitating, and then we have a variety of other public space improvements in Paradise Valley, and all of these are coming online at the same time. So this really prepared me for the role that I now have, where I've started another streetscape improvement program in Midtown's Chinatown area, and that would be Cass in Peterborough.
Okay.
Yeah, so right by a shipping company, Detroit Shipping Company.
Right.
And this is the historic cultural roots of, the...
so right off of Woodward.
Yeah. This is, historically a landing ground for the Asian American community in Detroit. That's the old Chinatown. And we're doing a streetscape improvement program through a generous grant through the state of Michigan. So really looking at how do we reactivate these buildings? How do we interpret a lot of the cultural heritage that used to be there, but also support the thriving businesses that are there today. So we're still in the design phases. Everybody is really invited to engage with that. We're going to have trees, outdoor cafes, art, lighting. We're really excited about this, and not just for that area, but really thinking more broadly about the Lower Cass Corridor. This is steps away from Little Caesars Arena. It steps away from a variety of venues, and it's only one block off of Woodward. So how do we get people there? How do we make sure it's known, legible from Woodward, from MLK, from Mac? Really excited about this project. It's very similar in terms to the Greektown streetscape improvement program, but Greektown is certainly on a much larger scale in different context,
right.
And different heritage. But this is something that I just am so thrilled to do and can't wait to get started.
Does the majority of this funding come from city, state, combination, federal, or combination there?
It is coming directly from the state of Michigan through some generous, generous sponsorship from the state of Michigan. And I must thank Senator Stephanie Chang for really, really going to bat so that we could honor and celebrate the heritage in this old Chinatown community.
You sit on the City Planning Commission. As you look long terms in terms of where you think this is all going and what it means to Southeast Michigan in terms of economic development for the region.
Yes.
What does this all mean?
Well, I mean, Southeast Michigan is the powerhouse of the state of Michigan. We have so many vibrant communities across the whole state, both, Upper Peninsula and Lower Peninsula, but Southeast Michigan has a huge population and a very diverse population. And so really focusing on the biggest city in the state of Michigan, the city of Detroit, and bringing people there. We have so many tourists. We have so much culture. We're home to Motown. We're home to techno. We have
and we did the largest NFL draft.
We did the largest NFL draft, which
Right.
which I helped out with. They weren't just downtown. They were in Midtown. They were Corktown. They were over on Livernois Avenue of Fashion. They really got to experience a lot of our culture, and I've heard nothing but positives from the people who visited. And for the future, we really showed that we can handle these large events, that we do it a different way here. We do it the Detroit way. We do things in the city, not off, somewhere else out of the city, and that we can celebrate and throw a party like no other. So moving forward, what does that mean for us? What does that mean for Midtown and News Center? We have a lot of conventions, a lot of events, a lot of sporting events that come to the city. And so I think it's really important that we make it walkable, we make it legible, people know where to go, and that we provide all those things and really represent how amazing Detroit and Detroiters are. I think it's something that is uniquely special about this city. It's something that you can feel while you're there. It's really difficult to describe unless you live there, you work there, or you visit there often. But there's this feeling of community, that we're in it together. And that's something that I want to celebrate and uplift through all the work that we're doing.
All right, catch your breath for a quick second. When we come back, I want to talk to you about your thoughts on historic preservation. in Midtown. We'll be right back with Melanie Markowicz. Stay with us. Final question. You used to be over Preservation Detroit, I think?
Correct.
Okay, so you have background and degrees in historic preservation. How does that fit into this picture as you remake Midtown in terms of preserving the history and some of the key buildings, but also at times having to make the difficult decision that this may be a building that goes back a long way and it may have been loved and a lot of history, but it just doesn't fit in with what we're trying to do moving forward?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and I think it's something that a lot of preservationists wrestle with. But my point of view, and my point of view has always been that buildings are meant to be used, and they're a representation of our culture and who we are. So not everything can be saved, nor should everything be saved. But we need to really think about what is important to us, and also sustainability, reusing materials, and that human scale and quality of historic architecture and development, and the adaptability of historic buildings as well. You know, as we're making this move from, you know, a lot of office space to more residential and entertainment and hospitality, historic buildings really are adaptable in so many different ways. So in this role, it's my goal to certainly celebrate all the many historic districts, both national and local register, within Midtown and New Center, and also the buildings that are National Historic Landmarks, like the Fisher Building, but also working with people who are rehabilitating their homes, working with developers that are rehabilitating historic buildings, making sure that historic preservation tax credits can be accessible and used, and advocating for those mechanisms. In helping them, you know, really make sure that whatever new buildings are built, that they really celebrate and complement the buildings that are already there.
Get the right mix.
Yeah, get the right mix.
Melanie Markowicz, Executive Director of Midtown Detroit, Inc. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing and giving us a chance to introduce you to our audience.
All right, thank you so much.
And best of luck. And will you keep in touch with us on all your progress?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we'll get you back.
Thank you.
I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight. We hope you have a great week.